Hello, world. How is everybody? I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, and I'm coming to you a little bit late today than I usually do. And I'm going to talk about today is social media toxic within our Black community? And is this part of the Willie Lynch syndrome? Once we answer that question. And again, I am Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. You can go to my YouTube channel that is aimed, AIMED, the number two, Purpose Radio, where you will find lots of content that I intend to impound upon everyone, particularly within the Black community, because I am this mad Black woman, which is motivated and determined to support and help elevate our Black community to a higher level of consciousness. Because believe me, we need it. We have some bad behaviors that is holding us back economically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, and intellectually. I mean, socially, we have some issues and we need to address these issues. And what I have spoken about this sometimes on my podcast when I had guests and sometimes when I'm by myself. However, I was reading this article here, and it was an article by a Dr. David Stamps. And let me give you a little bit about this gentleman. And his name is David Stamps. He was born in Missouri, St. Louis, and he is an assistant professor in the Informational Design and Corporate Communication Department at Bentley University, which is outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Now, this article was, I guess, written some time ago, I think maybe this year. However, I just happened to run across it, and it's been something that's been on my mind because I've often asked myself the question about, is social media toxic within our Black community? Is it elevating us or is it holding us back to some extent? And let me tell you what Professor David Stamp said about social media. He said the existence of social media has allowed Black individuals to share their grievances, celebrate their successes, call attention to injustice, and build awareness around cultural issues. And I agree with him. However, that question that I ask, is social media toxic within the Black community? Is this mentality part of the Willie Lynch syndrome? That question, from my perspective, has a yes and no response. And the reason I say that it has a yes and no response is because, based on what I just read to you by Professor Dr. David Stamps, I agree with what he said because social media has its positive impact and it has its negative impact when it comes to our Black community. And if you really pay attention to social media, from what I have seen, we are the only ethnic group that will go on social media and we talk about a lot of things that are irrelevant to benefit us within the Black community. And that is a huge concern to me because if we aren't elevating ourselves, why are we peddling a bunch of nonsense, junk, garbage? Because this type of information, especially when it comes to our young people, it's not helping us, it's hurting us. And we need to take a grip and really pay attention to why we are so hung up on negativity, toxicity, because a lot of social media is so toxic for our community. And I've noticed too, with this toxic information that's being spewed all over social media by us as Black people, it's not censored. Think about it. Why is that information not censored? I have not seen it censored. And I'm telling you, why? I'm asking you, why? We need a solution to stop this type of enslaved mentality because it's toxic to our younger generation. And many of us, not only just the young, but some of the older young, we're taking hold of a lot of this toxic social media that's hurting us, is harming us. And we need to be having a renewing of our mind in a positive fashion, and we're not. And a lot of us will follow this NS and BS. And if you know what I mean, you know what NS mean. I know you know what BS mean. And if you don't, ask somebody what is a lot of NS and a lot of BS that's being spewed all over social media and it's not benefiting us. Think about it. Economically, we are at the bottom of the barrel, particularly Black single mothers. And that's not all of us because there's some Black single mothers that are on code. They are educating their children. They're teaching their children how to invest. They're teaching their children the why we are, many of us are still in this enslaved mentality. And I've been a single mother before, so I can tell you, I raised my children to have an understanding of the why. Why we, so many of us, are stuck in this Willie Lynch syndrome. And if you don't know what the Willie Lynch syndrome is, you need to go and read this book, a little pamphlet that will take you probably 15, 20 minutes to read, maybe less, depending on how fast you read. And this will help you to understand why some of us are still stuck. We're stuck. We're stuck in an enslaved mentality and we need to come out of it. This is the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. Now, some say it's fiction. Whether it's fiction or not, it has a lot of merit. And if you read it, you will understand what I'm talking about. And if you want it read to you, you can go to my podcast on my YouTube channel, because when I started my podcast for this particular podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, back in January, a year ago, 2022, I read this book in detail on my podcast. And I tell you, many of us are still stuck. And when we look at social media and we see us out there with all of these negative contents that we are spewing all over, it's not elevating us. We need positive content that's going to help us within our community, in our culture, so that we can become economically sound, solid, living our best life. That's what we need. And of course, we know there's a lot of talk about reparations, but we can't sit around and wait for that to come because we don't know when it's going to come. Because we know in the current environment, our current atmosphere, with the current political or administration that's in office now, they aren't thinking about reparations or giving back what is owed to Black people for our ancestors working very hard here to build America. That money is being given to Ukraine and everybody else except Black folks. And who votes for these people? We got to think about how we are spending our vote. Why are we voting for a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris when Joe Biden told you point blank, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black? That's what he said. And I'm not saying to go over and vote for any Republicans either, because I've told you over and over and over, as this mad Black woman, Louise Hicks, motivated and determined, that's what the MAD stands for. It's one snake with two heads, one with the Democrats on it, the other one with the Republicans on it. That's why we need to form our own party, because the Democrats have been so deceptive. They don't care about you as Black people. All they want you to do is put them in office. Look what happened down in Louisiana recently when this governor, the Democratic governor who's been in there 8 years, Edwards is his last name, can't remember his first name, but he's out because of this Republican, because some Black people just decided we're sick of these Democrats. And I call them Democrats because if you look at the word Democrats, what does it end in? RATS, a bunch of rats feeding you poison that's not helping us or our mindset. And I'm only going to talk just briefly this evening because at 72, I'm telling you, I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I know what I'm talking about. And we go out here, we see all of this information, content, and we know it's about money. When you're listening to a lot of these young people on social media, because a lot of old people like myself, they're not even on social media. They're just sitting around waiting, some waiting to die, some just relaxing, enjoying what they've worked hard for. And that's their business if that's what they've chosen to do. However, I've chosen at 72 to continue to use my GPS for the better good. And when I say my GPS, that's my God powered system. And I have a little internal trainer that's within me that keeps me going, keeps me motivated as this mad Black woman. So I'm telling you all, start focusing on content that's positive and that's going to elevate you and benefit you, because this negative social media out here, it's not benefiting you. Take a look in your bank account and see if it's benefiting you. What are they helping you to invest in anything? And a lot of these rappers out here, are they helping you when they call you all kind of names, women, bitches, and hoes, and it's Black women? They don't talk about any other women now because the people who are promoting them, they're not going to allow them to talk about other women, only us as Black women. And we need to stop listening to that nonsense, that junk, or that garbage, telling us to kill up one another, telling us to go out and use drugs. And who bring drugs into this country? Not us, because we don't have the economic power to bring these drugs into this country. So we need to stop and think when we are on social media and when we are following these people. You're following a bunch of information that's not relevant to elevate you to a higher level of consciousness so that you can be economically empowered. You can be spiritually uplifted. You can be intellectually motivated to get the knowledge that you need in order to elevate you to a higher level of consciousness so that you can have a legacy and you can have some generational wealth to pass on to your children. When I leave this world, my children will be fine because I got out of that Democratic Party when I was in my 30s and I became an independent because I saw where they were leading us. They weren't leading us nowhere. And it's all by design to keep you economically at the bottom of the barrel. Is that where you want to be? I would think not. Do you want to be at the bottom of the barrel forever and ever and ever? We've been there over 500 years. We've gone through Jim Crow, and now whatever we're in is not economic empowerment. Only for those who are listening and taking in the knowledge that's imparted by people out here who are like Dr. Claude Anderson tells you in his book. Think about it. I read this book back in the 1990s, Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. You need to read this. Start going through social media content that's going to elevate you so that you can teach your children the root cause of why many of us are still in an enslaved mindset. And this is another book by Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics. Read this book. It will help you because we are a brilliant, melanated people. However, if we don't use that brilliance, we're going to stay economically at the bottom and we won't be able to live our best life. We will continue to be on a path of economically unsound behaviors that will hold us back. And we need to stop and think. Use that sound mind that we have. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. But are we using it? When we follow all of this junk and garbage that's being spewed out here on social media, that's not helping us. It's hurting us. And when we allow this stuff to be infiltrated in our young minds, do you know what that is doing to us as a generation of people? We're helping ourselves to commit genocide against ourselves. And believe me, this Black caucus that's been in there for years, some of them been there, what are they doing? Nothing, nothing to enhance our lives. And they are the Black caucus. They've been there for years. And if these Democrats were doing so much for us, why are we still out here fighting for freedom? Ask yourself these questions. And again, I am Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast where I come on every Sunday, different times. You'll know when I'm coming on. Sometimes I announce it, sometimes I don't. Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. I have a YouTube channel, aimed, AIMED. That's for aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, and determination. Aimed to Purpose Radio. That's my YouTube channel. I have a website, www.louisehicks.com. Go to my website, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, share this video. Subscribe. Get content that's going to elevate you to a higher level of consciousness so that you can have a legacy. You can have generational wealth to pass on to your children. And as this gentleman I spoke about to you earlier, David L. Stamps, who is a professor in the Information Design and Corporate Communication Department at Bentley University, he's right on what he says. However, this is a yes and no, because I'm talking about, is social media toxic within our Black community? And do we still have this enslaved Willie Lynch syndrome? It's about mindset. And we have to get our mindset together, because if we don't, we're going down the wrong path. And when you listen to all this garbage out here on social media and this junk, or I guess you could call it junkology, the study of junk, we got to stop, because it's not helping us, it's hurting us. And we got to start doing our own due diligence and not let other people define who we are. And when you study these books that I've just talked to you about, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson, and the book, The Willie Lynch Letter and the Making of a Slave, read this information and stop following all of this junkology, the junk, the garbage. If it's not going to benefit you and help you to elevate yourself and your family, why are you following it? Why? Ask yourself that question. And a lot of these people, of course, it's money in what they're doing, but is that money benefiting you and your family? Are they giving you some of that money they're making off of you when they're getting all these subscribers? You're subscribing to the junk that they're putting out here, the garbage that they're putting out here. The same with the following of these uh, stars. Some of us are so starstruck and so entertainment struck until we can't even attend to our own business, our own families, because we're too busy following the Jada Pinkeys, the Will Smith, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, and all these other entertainers out here. We got to stop that enslaved mentality. That stuff is by design to keep you economically down at the bottom of the barrel. Please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe because I give content that's going to elevate you. And I'm working on a masterclass now that I'm going to be bringing to you either the end of this year or the first quarter of next year. And it's going to be a free masterclass because I tell you, I can impart a lot of information to you to help you grow, understand how to invest your money. Money does not circulate in our community hardly at all because we don't patronize one another, we don't trust one another, and we have some unscrupulous people out here. Of course we do, but so do other ethnicities, and you run to trade with many of them, and they don't trade with you, many of them. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them. And there are Black products that you can buy. The Black Buy movement. Check into them. I buy from them all the time. Buy Black movement. They're located, I believe their headquarters is in Atlanta, and I order from them products. I just implemented the end of last year a scheduling system for a Black plumber, Perfect Flow Plumbing out in California. And this Black business is thriving because he has an automated system now. And he may be the only Black tradesman in Southern California that has an automated system that's operating professionally through technology, getting lots of referrals. Go to his website, www.perfectflow, that's PERFECTFLO plumbing, PLUMBING.com. We need to start patronizing one another. And he has, because of his knowledge, Camille Flowers, because of his knowledge, his expertise, he's been in business over 25 years, came from a plumbing background, plumbing family, very knowledgeable. And he does have customers of all ethnicities because he works with integrity, he is professional, and he has the knowledge. And that means a lot. We have to work with integrity, and we have to stop following this foolishness on social media because it's not helping us, it's hurting us. They're making money when they give you all of this nonsense content. Of course, they're making money off of you when you follow them. But are they elevating you to a higher level of consciousness so that you can have legacy and generational wealth with your own family? You don't have to die leaving your family nothing. And we need to start putting together wills and trust. So if you do have something to leave, you can make sure that you have given your information the way you want your estate to be divided among your heirs. That's important. We need to get insurance. A lot of us don't even get life insurance. And when our people die, we got to go and beg. And we shouldn't be in that situation. We have over $1.6 trillion running through our hands every year, maybe even more. And what are we doing with our money? How are we spending our money? Are we investing in the stock market? Are we investing in real estate? Are we investing most of all in ourselves and our families? Again, I'm Louise Hicks, the host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Go to my YouTube channel, AIMED, the number 2. Subscribe, share this video and other videos on my channel. I have videos out there that will impart information to you that I did when I was doing my podcast with my son, Kenan Wesley Mason, who has his own podcast now, The Kinetic Hour. And we did Aim to Purpose, the radio show. We had people from all over the world on that show who imparted some great information of all ethnicities. So those podcasts are still out there, the interviews. We've interviewed people from all over the world, South Africa, of course, America, uh, the United Kingdom, Canada, all over, all over the world. So go on my YouTube channel. You will see aimed, AIMED, the number 2, purpose, PURPOSE, radio. Aim to Purpose Radio. My website, www.louisehicks.com. I have a bachelor's degree in social work, and I have a PHdo, actually. I don't need a PhD, but I do have a real bachelor's from California State University, Long Beach. I do motivational speaking. I do coaching. I help businesses. Like I said, I've implemented a scheduling system for this plumbing company, Perfect Flow Plumbing, a Black-owned plumbing company, very professional. Go to that website, www.perfect, PERFECT, no W, just FLO, perfectflowplumbing.com. CEO and owner, Camille Flowers, over 25 years of plumbing services. Young Black man that's very enthusiastic, very professional, very knowledgeable. And that's what we need to start promoting and watching and subscribing to. YouTube channels that's going to benefit us. Not all of this junkology, this garbageology, or whatever you want to call it, that's out here spewing a lot of negative information to us as Black folks. It's ridiculous. And we need to stop and think about it, because that stuff is not benefiting us. It's a bunch of NS and BS. So we got to think about it. Why are we following a lot of this toxic social media when we could be following the positive social media that's uplifting and building our Black community? Not this stuff in here that's pulling us down and holding us back. And when I do my master class, it'll probably be a couple of hours. I'm going to talk about some of my experiences, because I can share with you how not to get fired on a job. Some of you go on these jobs, you're the last hired and the first fired. I've never been fired on a job. And I can share with you how not to get fired if you want to get a job. However, I advocate us becoming entrepreneurs, because if you own the business, unless you fire yourself, you can't get fired, right? And if you're running a business with integrity, you're going to get business. Like I just shared with you, the plumber that I am a consultant to, because my business is L. Hicks Consulting Services, LLC. And this particular plumber called me up and asked me, could I come on board as a consultant? And that's what I've done. And now his business is starting to flourish, even though he was doing well prior. He's doing better now because of referrals. And people will refer you when you have integrity, you have the knowledge, you're professional, and you work with excellence. And that's what we have to do. to elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness. I didn't get to be 72 in good health, not on any medicines. I'm not saying I'm don't have a few aches and pains sometimes. Of course I do. But I'm not on any medication. And that's by design because I designed my life. So if you want to work on a job and you want to know how not to get fired, I can give you a lot of tips and pointers because I'm the type of person that speak up and speak out on a job when I see discriminatory practices. And believe me, I was going to go to law school, but I chose to raise my family instead. But I did practice law myself within the county of Los Angeles, and I won my case because I love law. I love it with a passion. And I've won some small claims cases too that I'll tell you about. I'll talk about that uh, a little later. That's a special that I'll be doing to help you to understand how you can stop a lot of these greedy corporations from taking your money because you can take them to small claims court and you can win, but you have to know how. You have to know how. So I'm going to do my master class, and I hope you all will come on it because it's going to be a couple of hours free to anyone that wants to attend. And my focus will be more on our people because we're at the bottom of the economic barrel, like I told you. Not all of us, a lot of us, we've come out of that enslaved mindset. And I always tell you, I talked to you already about 2 Timothy 1:7 about God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power. So let me tell you this one here. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That's Proverbs 27:17. I'm a firm believer in that one as well, because you got to believe in yourself, first of all. If you don't believe in yourself, who else will believe in you? And we should support and help one another, elevate one another. We're the most divided ethnic group on the planet. And here in America, it's all by design. It's part of that Willie Lynch syndrome that we must come out of. And I'm planning a boot camp as well. That'll be sometime next year. And that will be free as well. But my master class, you're not going to want to miss it. And if you want to get your name on my email list now for my master class, send me an email at my AIMED, aimed, the number 2, purpose at gmail.com. That's aimed, AIMED, the number 2, purpose at gmail.com, because I'm going to give you some tips on how to not get fired on a job. You just got to know what to do. You got to outsmart the racists on your job because there are lots of them. And you can go to work stressed out every day and feeling all down, don't want to go there. But you can put them on notice as well. You just got to know what to do and how to do it. So, like I said, I'm this mad Black woman, 72 years of age, motivated and determined. And I always tell you where your power lies. Your power lies within you. Let it loose because your destiny is your command. So again, I'm Louise Hicks. I'm getting ready to close out for today, but I had to come in. Once I saw this article and I popped up and it's an older article, however, it's relevant because social media can be positive and it can be negative depending on how you use it. And if you're going to use it to get money from our people that follow you because of their enslaved mindset, it's not benefiting the followers, it's benefiting the podcaster. And don't forget that. So go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, aimed, AIMED, the number 2, purpose radio. Share this video because we have to come out of that enslaved mindset. That's the only way we're going to elevate ourselves economically, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, and socially. That's what it's going to take for us to come out of. We got to stop following junkology, garbageology. We got to start following positive content and come out of that Willie Lynch enslaved mentality. Learn to speak up and speak out because it's important for us to elevate ourselves. So, with that said, you can send me an email, as I said, with your email if you'd like to get on my list. I'm building the list now for my masterclass, and it's going to be to help you to elevate yourself so that you can become a millionaire and you don't have to be stuck and impoverished. And we know reparation may come one day, but we can't wait for that. We have to look to the now, work on the future, put your plan in place because you need to have vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and action in order to elevate yourself. And with that said, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I'm helping you to elevate yourself to a higher level of consciousness. Subscribe, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Aim to Purpose Radio. My website, www.louisehicks.com, will take you to all of my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, well, X now, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. And you will find something to help you to elevate yourself and live your best life. Always remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose because your destiny is your command. So bye-bye for now. Have a good week and live your best life. That's the best way to go. But if you continue on this negative path with this toxic social media, it's not going to benefit you. It's going to hold you back. So have a good night. And thank you so much for tuning in. And when you're on my YouTube channel, be sure and subscribe. Talk to you soon. Much love.